Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Trichomes Morning Buzz. It's Thursday, May 12th, and here are your top cannabis headlines. First up, bipartisan senators push to finally enact marijuana banking legislation. Next is we've got American basketball star Brittany Griner wrongfully detained over cannabis in Russia, and the U.S. The U.S. changed her status to wrongfully detained over cannabis in Russia. U.S. says while maintaining prohibition at home. We'll get into that. And then the top federal drug official pressed on marijuana and kratom decriminalization at Congress hearing. So, getting right into these stories here. The first one up, bipartisan senators. The bipartisan senators push to finally enact marijuana banking legalization. Nearly a quarter of the members of the U.S. Senate are now joining together to call on congressional leaders to ensure that marijuana banking provisions are enacted into law as part of the large-scale manufacturing bill. The 24 senators, including 19 Democrats and 5 Republicans, wrote in a letter that the Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act would help cannabis-related businesses support innovation, create jobs, and strengthen public safety in our communities. The lawmakers, led by Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon and Jackie Rosen of Nevada, want the marijuana provisions included in the American Competes Act, which is a bicameral conference committee, and it will discuss its first meeting on Thursday. Let's see. The cannabis industry has become a powerful creator and a significant generator of tax revenue, they wrote. However, financial institutions are often reluctant to transact with cannabis-related businesses, even in states where some form of legalization has happened, due to legal cannabis and regulatory risks arising from inconsistent federal and state laws. Allowing cannabis businesses to operate legally and in compliance with state law to access financial services without federal reprisal would address public safety and compliance challenges, helping communities reduce cash-motivated crimes. Hey, there we go. Go on to say, enacting the Safe Banking Act via the Jobs and Competitiveness legislation before us would support a rapidly growing industry that creates jobs, fosters innovations, supports small businesses, and raises revenue in the states that have been chosen to legalize cannabis, while reducing safety risks to industry employees and the public alike. They're getting it. So, with that, we'll go ahead on to the next one. That was just the highlights there. We'll go ahead on to the next one about American basketball star. And American basketball star Brittany Griner wrongfully detained over cannabis in Russia, U.S. says, while maintaining prohibition at home. U.S. officials recently escalated their push for the release of WNBA player Brittany Griner, who was arrested in Russia in February after she was allegedly caught with the cannabis vape cartridges in an airport. But while the State Department has now formally designated Griner's case as a wrongful detention, the Russian charge itself is consistent with the U.S.'s own federal laws prohibiting marijuana, an offense that could similarly result in a conviction and incarceration in the American athlete's home country. The department didn't necessarily say that they escalated the designation because they believe a person shouldn't be incarcerated over cannabis, but the new wrongfully detained classification means that the U.S. is taking the position that the legal proceeding is unjust and officials will be stepping up negotiations for her release. They go on to quote, "There will be no change, of course, in the fact that we are going to do everything we can to provide appropriate support to Ms. Griner, to her family." The State Department spokesperson Ned Price said at the briefing last week, "There's only so much I can say about the process for determining whether an American is wrongfully detained. It's a deliberative process." Let's see here. So it goes on to say Griner allegedly broke Russian law because marijuana is illegal in Russia. The country has taken particularly strong stance against reforming cannabis policy on the international level through the United Nations, and it condemned Canada for legalizing marijuana. So what they're saying is it's really a high concern for them, and they don't like cannabis being legalized in the first place. All right, and then the last one, coming from Marijuana Moment. This one just came through the hot off the presses, as they say. And we brought this one up because top federal drug official pressed on marijuana, kratom, and a drug decriminalization at congressional hearing. Several congressional lawmakers pressed a top federal drug official on Wednesday about their concerns over marijuana legalization, though they seem to signal that they view the reform as inevitable. Members of the House Appropriations Subcommittee for the Departments of Labor, Health and Human Services, Education, and related agencies directed several cannabis questions at the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA, Director Nora Volkow. Lawmakers also talked about the therapeutic potential of kratom as well as broader drug decriminalization issues. Ranking Member Tom Cole from Oklahoma broadly asked Volkow about how many problems she's focused on with respect to cannabis legalization. But while he signaled he's opposed to the reform, the congressman also said that the horse is already out of the barn probably, and as more states adopt legalization and Congress moves to end federal prohibition. Volkow, the NIDA director, replied by going through familiar talking points, noting that adult marijuana use has increased, particularly amid the coronavirus pandemic. While Volkow previously talked about how she's surprised in the federal surveys have shown stable underage marijuana use, she said that the hearing that she remains concerned about these trends relative to cannabis consumption by pregnant women and stressed that the THC can impact cognitive development in adolescents. All right. That right there, it's, that's about education, I would believe. Goes on. Republican Andy Harris from Maryland, a staunch opponent of legalization, also took the opportunity to address cannabis issues at the hearing. Specifically, he referenced a recent notice from the NIH that called for studies into how marijuana and its constituents affect cancer and cancer treatment. So they're really trying to get this going. But Dr. Volkow, is this ready, shoot, aim? Harris asked. I mean, we're basically approving a medicine because, as you said, so-called medical marijuana around the country without having done any of these studies yet. And that is where we'll go ahead and get into the comments here and see how everybody's doing. All right, Little Mac, Donkey Limit, Patrick Lewis, aka Cajun Indian. Good to see you again, Patrick Lewis. Hey, good morning, you guys. It's been a long week. Good to see you here. Sorry we missed on Monday, but news has been kind of slow, and also it was little hiccups on getting to the office here. So hope everyone had a great week so far. Just first things up is the bipartisan senators pushing to get the banking laws enacted, and again, we've been talking about that over the last couple of weeks here as a group, and ultimately you're talking about the safety of not only the places that have been designated to sell cannabis legally, but the patrons thereof of those businesses and the safety thereof of those people. So really it's going to be interesting to see what happens coming over the next few months. I do believe that we're gaining some momentum on the Safe Banking Act, which again will actually bring some momentum to the cannabis industry in whole. Right now, you've got a lot of regulations on the states, and you've got a lot of taxes that are hindering a couple different things. But it boils down to the fact that without federal and state alignment, the banks and a few of the things that have federal governance or oversight are going to be reluctant to get in all the way because of the fact that they still stand to have um, repercussions brought against their businesses and what they're doing. So, oh yeah, let's see here. Little Mac 86. There are also studies and proof through use that cannabis is good for pregnant mothers all the way until after childbirth. I don't recall all the benefits from the story I saw. There's going to be stories both ways right now, and we have quite a few canna moms on our app, and we have quite a few people that we've spoken to throughout the 3 years of our being in existence here at Trichomes, and there's definitely opinions both ways. The studies that we need to have come about this are going to be studies that are going to be funded by the industry, right? It's ultimately you need an unbiased set of people talking about it, because what's the most important aspect of the pregnancy is both the child's health and the mother's health. And realistically, um, when it comes down to medical issues that are being sustained, or things that are going on in the mother's health during the pregnancy, that's for a doctor, to prescribe things. And generally speaking, within research and us taking this next level with clinical research being done on cannabis derived medicines, who's to say that cannabis derived medicines aren't going to be a part of the mother's wellness therapy based upon the endocannabinoid system and all those different types of things? But anecdotally, I think that one of the biggest parts about consumption during pregnancy has to do with smoking cannabis and smoking anything, especially plant matter and that kind of stuff with carcinogens and those things already present. You're not going to have a doctor say smoke your medicine, especially to a pregnant mother. So that's where we've got to get into the individualized studies surrounding cannabinoids, and how overall we can help um, mothers that need it, utilizing something that their system's ready for, such as cannabinoids made for an endocannabinoid system, of which is one of a kind in our bodies. So we'll see how that goes. But again, I think you know anecdotally, I know there's a lot of symptom relief for moms in the stuff that they have going on, but really we need to get to scientifically whether it's hurting or helping with the fetus and the mom's overall wellness, because that's what ensures the overall wellness of the baby inside. Let's see, Donkey Limit. It's been a brutal week. The news is trying its hardest to ignore the flaming pile of ash that is this economy. Holy guacamole. Absolutely. It's something that's going down right now pretty hard. I pay attention to a few things, just as indicators to the market, and yeah, it's something that amongst friends and cohorts and business people that I work with, we've been seeing the writing on the wall for a while now, and we'll see how this one plays out. There is no financial advice given here on this show, no matter what we say. But yeah, I finally think that the cannabis stocks are starting to see their way down to where they belong, especially in regards to Canadian stocks. And ultimately, this reset, this market adjustment, is going to bring a little more reality to where the market's at. Unfortunately, it's a lot lower than what's happened over the last 2 years. It's been a pretty bull market, as we say. So let's see here. Donkey Limit. On the upside, cannabis sector is new lows again. Unfortunately, that kind of goes to what I was just saying. I think ultimately there's a little more air to let out of those tires. We're going to be starting a segment where we talk about this a little bit more and bring in some people who are a bit more versed on the analytics and going over these things, and so we can discuss these topic points. But realistically, yeah, it comes down to market. Whether you're talking about Canada, California, the CBD market, all of those markets got ahead of themselves in thought and theory with the investors going into them. Canada, it legalized, and then all of a sudden it thought its export market, it was going to supply the world with cannabis, except for the fact that the world hadn't legalized cannabis yet. So where's all the cannabis going to go? California, same thing. They legalized, and all of a sudden there's 6,000 plus growers, 8,000 growers. in California, and there's 400 retail licenses the first year. Where's it all going to go? You know, these markets kind of ran over the horses again. We were talking about horses in front of the cart. Well, in these cases, the horses were clearly run over. And again, to the CBD market, it's, you know, I was caught up in it for a while at first. You know, you have all these people that CBD and the Farm Bill Act, all that kind of stuff around 2018, 2019. You have people that uncles were part of Pepsi or this or that, or, you know, the football association wanting to do research, and everyone needed 10,000 kilos a week. Well, first of all, that wasn't being produced in the US. Next is no one really needed that. It was all basically people talking about, well, what could become, but there was no market for it. So everybody basically produced to no end and no final sale. And really these markets, these businesses are seeing the repercussions of having overbuilt for a hockey stick style growth rate, which just isn't going to happen. So, yeah, let's see here. We're gonna go on to AKA Cajun Indian. I would think that a mother's will to use common sense come into play. Absolutely. You know, that's it. It's one of those deals as to where, yeah, you know, people who are supposed to be legally allowed to use cannabis, 21 and over. It's, you know, my body, my right type thing, except for in the fact where, you know, you've seen things like the baby syndromes and the different things that come along with alcohol, and really I would be hard pressed to say if that we saw the same type of thing from consuming cannabis on like a smoking level or whatnot. If you see different repercussions from it, that the mother wouldn't want to veer away from it in the first place. But again, anecdotally, I know that within the people that we've spoken to, it's definitely weighing towards the fact that mothers would like to choose to use cannabis in the form rather than drink the one glass of wine or do that type of thing. And who knows what it comes down to, if it's a tincture, if it's a rub, if it's, you know, capsules, that type of thing. But, you know, again, smoking, it's going to be tough to have medicine side with the fact that you're ingesting carcinogens as a delivery vehicle as a mother. And that's, you know, really just me expressing my opinion of the medical profession. It's not my opinion there. Little Mac was just touching on that point. As you said, personally, I feel that pregnant moms should not drink alcohol. It's literally poison. Yet the general consensus is it's okay to drink during pregnancy in moderation, even as we've seen repercussions. Again, that's what we'd be looking for here is the scientific truth, you know, behind this stuff, and you know, non-biased, non-directed studies surrounding this, because it's a big deal. You know, again, general quality of life and things that the moms go through during pregnancies and that kind of stuff need to be taken into consideration. But we're looking for facts, right? We're not looking anymore for the anecdotal or for, you know, for the reefer madness, you know, where everything's just bad. We're looking for the truth, and so that's where I think this research comes in. So, AKA Cajun Indian, I got good news from my psychiatrist. He said I could use cannabis with my antidepressants, but I will dish these chemical pills as I wean off and strictly cannabis from here. You know, I think we're going to see a lot more of this coming up here. It's as somebody who goes through different things and depression and whatnot. It's something as to where I've chosen to stay away from pharmaceuticals. But you know. Different pills have different drug interactions with cannabis. You're seeing the advent of more cannabis use, allowing doctors to see what mixes and what doesn't mix very well with these things. And so I'm really glad you have a doctor that interactively is working with cannabis and your antidepressants, and that can help out. That's great, because I do believe that cannabis can relieve a lot of actually prescribed pill use and that kind of stuff based upon what your diagnoses and that kind of stuff. So good for you on that one. Skeletor, what up, big dog? How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Donkey limit. Alcohol is the problem for cannabis. It's the reference point for non-users and crack, I guess, too. People don't understand it's close to coffee. Right. It's a more mellow choice between those two for sure. You know, there's definitely um, there's definitely aspects of it, just like anything, whether you're talking about sugar, whether you're talking about sun or working out or whatnot, you can abuse and or overuse or do things out of proportion, basically with anything in your life. So moderation, prescriptive doses if you're using it for medical purposes, moderation if you're using it for recreational. That's a big thing. And knowing, you know, what the line is for you. If we're all our own little individual snowflakes, as they say, and knowing what's right for you through testing and errors, you know, over the next little bit as we're waiting for the research to come about and recreational is still available, is really about finding what's right for you. So that's you know, I would say that until prescriptions come around, that kind of thing, it's yeah, it it's something that is the safer of the alternatives and has less of a side effect that we know about right now. And again, that's anecdotally. Let's see here. Tim Greenglass. Why can't I ever find the old school weed I grew up on, like outdoor gold buds with seeds? All this new hybrid stuff is a pain in the ass. Well, you know, I'm going to have to say that, Tim, you're one of the first people that I have come across that actually wants seed back in their weed. You know, I might just go ahead and leave that to the stuff that I don't smoke as well anymore. I remember when we'd get, you know, ounces of Mexican brickweed or whatnot, and you'd spend the first half hour de-seeding it before you got ready to grow it. I think the hassle thereof kind of warned people off of that. But if you're talking about, you know, just naturally grown, people throwing out seeds and the non-feminized seeds and just letting them grow, I think overall the reason why you don't see that is because of the ability for those plants to basically cause hermaphroditing or getting the other plants to seed as well. So that's why you don't see that anymore, is because essentially if you throw plants with seeds out uh, in the same field as plants without seeds, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of seeded or partially seeded plants. It's the pollen and all that kind of stuff will spread. Let's see. Skeletor says doctors write hydrocodone prescriptions to pregnant women all the time, and weed is safer than all the alternatives. I agree with you on that. It's within these prescriptions and that kind of stuff. The only difference is Skeletor and is that they have a history of interaction with it, as to where it's been taboo to talk about cannabis use. It's been taboo to talk about the methods of delivery or consumption or vehicles of delivery with the mother. So until now, we haven't had the clinical research or the availability to counteract what they're talking about. So hopefully here in the next coming years, we're going to be able to discover some safer alternatives for the pregnant mothers than what are currently being used and prescribed. Yeah, Little Mac 86, exactly the same thing. With millions of pregnant moms using cannabis around the world, I think we would have seen a trend of these issues. Yet, uh, seven seen none to suggest it, other than some studies. And again, that's it. Is really within the world stance on cannabis. We seem to be here in the U.S. a pretty, you know, a leader in the thought and that kind of stuff as well. And until we decriminalize and reschedule it, I think a lot of the world, opposite of the places like Israel and other places that put it at the forefront, which are just very few, are waiting for us to you know, figure it out on our side, because essentially the FDA and us as the largest consumer of products surrounding that is going to kind of dictate what other people in the world can either feed to us or bring to us. And that's I think what we're waiting on is a rescheduling so that the right research authorities can get in on this. Let's see here. Scroll down. Rec Boy INC, hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. It's great to see new and people who have been around for a while, but great to see new people in the comments. Patrick Lewis, my dog's more chill with CBD treats. I have heard that for a lot of dogs. I personally had a era of dogs that we had. I don't know, 5 years ago or so. Started an era of I had 4 dogs that were put down over a total of 2 years, and opposite of one where we did actually use a little bit more of a THC tincture. I did utilize CBD tinctures for quality of life and end of life comfort for my dogs, and really where they were 14, 15, 16-year-old pit bulls that it's pretty good age for that. At the end of their life, whether you're dealing with cancer or the tumors or there's just different stomach issues, dogs have a lot of issues at the end. They were able to sleep easier. They were able to be more comfortable, and you can see that not only in how they were able to rest, but through demeanor and all that kind of stuff. So I got to agree with you on that. Yeah, Tim Greenglass, regarding hydrocodone, now it's Schedule 2, while far stronger than Suboxone, and is Schedule 3. I'm not sure I will be able to shed any light on that. Again, I'm still befuddled with the fact that cannabis is Schedule 1, right? And if anything, that should let you know um, that there's agendas behind this, and really the big pharma agenda. There's other companies who could want this, and it's the special interest groups that kind of run certain aspects of this. So it's as baffling as cannabis still being on the Schedule 1, Tim, to me. Let's see, gonna go down. We got a lot of people in the comments today. Thanks a lot. I'm catching up. All right, Danny Tomlin in the house. You made it. Your dog eats the leaf of your plants every now and then, and it helps her, huh? Nice. My dogs were always a big fan of my tomato plants. When my kids were young, we had tomato plants out in the backyard, and it was all good until one year when my daughter asked, "When are we going to get to eat the tomatoes? How come they never become big and round and red?" Well, it was time to move on to whatever, and I went and bought some tomatoes, and we ate some tomatoes that year. But let's see here. Patrick Lewis, my grandma ate brownies once. She walked without her cane that day, yelled at the wheel of fortune, and told me she had the best sleep ever. That's amazing and hilarious, but that's great too. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's kids who grow up. It's one of those things, cannabis has been a part of my life, my whole life, really, my whole adult life, as far as from getting in trouble from it. Um, and having that shape my ability to get jobs and do all that kind of stuff, and to the fact that really it is something that has evened my keel along the way. So 20 years ago, the conversation piece of, yeah, I'm in the cannabis industry wasn't really something that you could pull up being the youngest dad in the room either. And so it was one of those deals that we chose as parents to, along the way, while having open relationships, make sure that the conversation started at the right time surrounding cannabis and that kind of thing, and really kind of put it down and put it off until they were able to understand it. But really, we've been open with it, and yeah, we've got some kids that understand a little bit more about the tomatoes of yesteryear, but understanding that today medical cannabis is something that helps a lot of people, and um, and when it comes down to teaching kids about it and letting them know about the tomato plants until all of a sudden it's time to let them know what those tomato plants were. I got lucky in that. My kids, older kids, I've got two that are a little older and they participate, in cannabis, but more on a recreational level. And yeah, I do believe they use it responsibly as to where, hey, their good old dad still has the ups and downs with, let's call it overuse and smoking a little bit too much sometimes, but it helps with the anxiety and the stress. So let's see. We got some more comments coming in. Skeletor, go smoke that bowl as soon as I get off this live here. I'm gonna have one rolled up already. So get down to the parking lot and go do that. Let's see. So I got CR 1545. Jamaican mothers who smoked weed while pregnant gave birth to healthier babies, is what you've heard. It's one of those things as to where, again, we as cannabis consumers, we as people who are enthusiasts and here and have it in our life, we want that to be true, and there's nothing right now saying it's not. It's just that we don't have the research surrounding that specific vertical to scientifically or clinically agree with that statement yet. So it's because other people have heard other things that they can argue that until the research is there. So let's see here. Little Mac, 86. You have something really heavy today, guys. Don't have a good support system. And if you would, please send some good vibes, prayers, and whatever. Hey, good vibes coming from this side over here at the office here in Trichomes. Little Mac 86, we really hope that everything turns out all right and look forward to seeing you in the comments tomorrow when it comes down to that. And yeah, hope that whatever it is, it goes well. So let us know tomorrow for sure. Tim Carlson, you have 4 kids. I'm as open with them as I can be based on their maturity level. There it is. The more open you can be with them, the more educated they're going to be about it, and that's it. I'm a proponent of live life on life's terms the longest you can. And when it boils down to, people have problems and people have uses and for coping mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. The more educated you can make the people who are going to be taking over this world from us, the better chance they have on utilizing things correctly without the misnomers or outright lies surrounding cannabis. There's a bit more of a clearer point of view. So I agree with you. Skeletor, there we go. Your wife used some green while pregnant with our oldest child, and she's brilliant. I'm gonna say that I've got 4 kids that we're surrounded. My wife has used cannabis for quite some time, and yeah, got some really smart kids surrounding that. I'm not sure that it was after we knew she was pregnant. I'm not sure that she chose to use after that point, but again, it's always been her body, her choice. So yeah, I do believe after we found out that she was conceiving that she kind of ebbed off of it. But let's see here. There we go. CR 1545. Will weed still make you paranoid once it's legal? I don't know. I think it was Bill Murray who said it's an atrocity that one of the most dangerous parts about cannabis is getting caught with it, right? And really, it's one of those things. It's like when you're smoking bowls, who's watching you, right? It's so the paranoia comes from the fact you're doing something wrong. So really, I think ultimately everyone will be a little less paranoid knowing that they don't have cops trying to beat down their door or come arrest them just for smoking a plant. And with that, John Phantom, I see you're just checking in. Thanks for checking in. And Danny Tomlin, it's part of our system, even in the mother's belly. So yeah, it's good for pregnancy, you think. And ultimately, I do believe that as a treatment for other things and as vehicles for uptake, they get a little bit more refined, such as tinctures or patches or rubs or that kind of thing, that we will see that it's okay um, for consumption on a certain level. I don't think we're going to find our way medically to saying that a joint in the morning or a joint at night or smoking anything in general is ever going to be accepted for a pregnant mom, just because of the way the medical standards and the people who govern that kind of thing. So that's just my personal opinion. Um, yeah, John Phantom, you know, basically same thing. Also remember hiding my weed use. Still do it out of ancient ingrained habit. I call it PTSD, right? We all have some stories about getting chased around about it, or having some bad things come of it, or having some friends have some bad things come of it, and yeah, that really does kind of up the ante on the paranoia thing. Laura Camp, good morning. Good to see you from Texas. All right, all right. Well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and call it today here. Loving everybody in the comments. There you go, Donkey Limits. Slap some RSO on that baby bulge. When it comes down to again this subject, I do believe there's going to be a lot of moms that we can talk to on the app and that kind of thing that have experience with this, and I think ultimately they are going to be some of the ones to listen to until the research comes out. So, hey, everybody, thank you very much for participating today. Had a great day in the comments and the talks. I went through and I did not even ask anybody to like and subscribe. I always forget about that. My team tells me I got to get better at that. But please, if it's the first time, give us a like, give us a subscription. Please subscribe and share the channel. Um, let's see here. James, to answer your question, James just put something up. Hey man, what time is your show? Seems inconsistent. You're right. It has been inconsistent. I apologize for that. We are going to be shooting for 7:30 Pacific Standard Time this last week. Came off a rough weekend, had a few things happen over the last couple of days. I had explained earlier in a couple of sessions that I had a standing an appointment on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. So that's why I wasn't here. But we're going to be back at it, and starting tomorrow we'll be here 7:30 PST, and starting next week we'll be going Monday through Friday 7:30 PST. So please go ahead and hit that notifications button. It'll help you chime in, but we are going to be dialing it into that 7:30 time. Still kind of going through the reprogramming phase here, getting some other shows ready to rock, and I'm just kind of standing in the meantime for the lives. So I hope everybody's been having a great morning. Love having the comments go, and this community we're building here on YouTube is fantastic. So again, thanks for joining in and all the love. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Be safe, be well, and we'll talk tomorrow on Friday.